For 3 summers in a row, I babied a perennial bed every single May. Watered it, fed it, talked to it, probably. And every August it looked exactly the same size it did in June. Thin, tired, barely earning its spot in the yard. Then a woman who'd run a wholesale perennial nursery for 30 years walked past my fence, looked at what I was doing, and said something that annoyed me at the time. "You're planting in the wrong season, and you don't even know it." Turns out she was right. Late summer soil is doing something spring soil can't fake, and once you understand it, you stop fighting your garden and start working with it. I'm going to walk you through 15 perennials that do better going in the ground right now, in August, than they ever would in spring. Stick around, because by the end you'll understand why, not just what. And that's the part that actually changes how your garden looks next year. Let's get into it. Number 1, Russian sage. Tall, airy, silver-stemmed, with a haze of tiny lavender blue flowers that makes an entire bed look like it's caught in fog. This plant is basically a woody subshrub pretending to be a perennial, and that distinction matters here. In August, the soil has spent all summer banking heat, and Russian sage uses that heat to push down a deep taproot before frost. Not a wide, shallow one, a deep one, straight down, the kind that eventually shrugs off drought completely. A spring-planted one is still building a shallow starter root when the July heat hits, and it sulks all season. An August-planted one skips that entire struggle. Try Little Spire if you want a compact 2-foot version, or Blue Spire for the classic 4-foot statement. Full sun, lean soil, zones 4 through 9. The mistake almost everyone makes. They plant it somewhere nice, enriched beds, regular irrigation, and it flops open and goes leggy within 2 years. This plant wants the spot nothing else will grow in. Skip the compost entirely. Space plants about 2 feet apart, and don't cut it back until spring, since the dried stems trap snow and protect the crown. Bees treat it like an open buffet from July straight through the first frost. Number 2, catmint. Not the stuff your cat rolls in, a cousin of it, but grown for its endless haze of blue-violet flowers over gray-green foliage. Catmint's trick is that it's one of the fastest perennials alive at converting warm soil into new root mass. Give it 6 to 8 weeks of August into October warmth, and it'll have a root system by Halloween that a spring planting wouldn't reach until the following July. Walker's Low is the classic, deceptively named. Since it isn't low at all, it just flops gracefully. Cat's Meow stays tighter and more compact if you want structure. Zones 3 through 8, full sun, and it genuinely prefers soil on the poor side. Here's the part people miss. After the first flush fades in midsummer, shear the whole plant back by half. Not trim, shear hard. It looks like overkill. 2 weeks later it's back in full bloom, denser than before. Skip that step and you get one SOSO bloom cycle and a floppy mess for the rest of the season. Do it, and hummingbird moths will visit it at dusk all the way into October. Number 3, yarrow. Flat clusters of tiny flowers sitting like little landing pads above ferny, aromatic foliage. And landing pads is the right image, because pollinators treat them exactly that way. Yarrow spreads by rhizome, and rhizomes do almost all their growing underground while temperatures are still warm, which is exactly what August gives you and April doesn't. Moonshine holds a striking sulfur yellow. Cerise Queen runs hot pink. Terracotta drifts from salmon to gold as it ages, sometimes on the same flower head. Zones 3 through 9, full sun, and it will grow in soil so poor it embarrasses your other perennials. The mistake, rich soil and regular watering, which is the exact opposite of what yarrow evolved for. You'll get soft, floppy stems that split open in a summer storm. Plant it lean and dry, 18 inches apart, and don't feed it, ever. Established clumps will shrug off drought that kills everything around them, and butterflies work the flower heads for weeks at a stretch. Number 4, false indigo, sometimes sold under its botanical name, Baptisia. Deep blue-purple pea-like flowers on stems that eventually build into something that looks more like a small shrub than a perennial, with blue-green foliage that stays handsome all season, long after the flowers are gone. This is the plant to get into the ground now specifically because it hates being moved later. Baptisia sends down a long, thick taproot almost immediately, and by year 3 that root is deep enough that digging the plant up will do more damage than starting over. Planting it in August, while soil is still warm enough to encourage that root to establish before frost, gives you one clean shot at getting the spot right. Purple smoke gives you smoky violet flowers on near black stems. Carolina moonlight runs soft yellow. Zones 3 through 9, full sun to light shade, and it tolerates poor soil once settled. The deep root means it barely needs watering after its second year. Give it real room, at least 3 feet, because a mature clump gets wide and resents crowding. Bumblebees are basically the only insect strong enough to pry the flowers open, so watch for that if you plant it near a path. It's oddly satisfying to watch. Number 5, blazing star, usually sold as liatris. Tall, dense purple spikes that open from the top down, which is backwards from almost every other spike-flowering perennial, and it's one of those small details that makes people stop and ask what it is. Liatris grows from a corm, a swollen underground storage structure, and that corm does the bulk of its bulking up work in late summer and fall while the soil is still warm. Plant the corm in August, and it enters winter noticeably fatter and more established than a spring-planted one, which translates directly into taller spikes, and more of them the following year. Cobalt stays compact around 18 inches. Florist in white is the pure white version if you want contrast in a mixed bed. Zones 3 through 9, full sun, and it wants soil on the drier side once established. Soggy winter ground is the one thing that rots the corm. Planted about 4 inches deep, 12 inches apart, in well-drained soil, and resist watering heavily once it's dormant for winter. Monarchs treat it as a critical fall fueling stop on their way south, right alongside goldfinches working the seed heads later. Number 6, astilbe, feathery plumes of pink, red, or white rising above deeply cut, almost fern-like foliage, and it's one of the very few perennials that actually looks more dramatic the shadier the spot gets. Astilbe roots are fine and fibrous, and they spread almost entirely sideways, just under the soil surface. That matters because August soil, still holding its summer warmth several inches down even as the air cools, is the perfect medium for that shallow lateral spread. By the time frost arrives, an August-planted astilbe is claimed roughly twice the underground territory a spring-planted one manages by its first bloom. Fennel brings deep red plumes over near black foliage. Bridal veil stays creamy white. Zones 4 through 8, partial to full shade. And this is the part people get wrong. It wants soil that never fully dries out. Full sun or a dry week and the leaf edges scorch brown almost overnight. Water deeply this first autumn, mulch after the ground cools, and divide it every 3 or 4 years once the center of the clump starts blooming thin. It pairs beautifully at the base of hostas and ferns, and it's one of the only perennials that reliably lights up deep shade without a single flower opening in direct sun. Number 7, Shasta daisy, the big, crisp, white and gold classic daisy that most people assume is an annual because the cheap grocery store ones usually die out within a year or 2. Real Shasta daisies form a dense fibrous crown right at soil level, and that crown needs time to knit into the surrounding soil before winter, or it's vulnerable to exactly the frost-heaving problem that pushes shallow-crowned perennials right out of the ground. August planting gives that crown roughly 10 weeks of warm soil to lock itself in before the freeze-thaw cycles of winter start trying to shove it back out. Becky is the tall, reliable garden standard, easily 3 feet with sturdy stems that don't need staking. Snowcap stays under 12 inches for the front of a border. Zones 5 through 9, full sun, and average, well-drained soil. It's genuinely one of the least demanding plants on this list. Set the crown level with the soil surface, not buried, water it in well, and mulch lightly once the ground cools, keeping mulch off the crown itself. Deadhead through summer, and you'll get months of bloom instead of weeks, and the flowers cut beautifully for the house. Number 8, Blue Star, sold as Amsonia. Soft powder blue star-shaped flowers in late spring, which is nice enough on its own, but the real reason people plant it is what happens in October, when the narrow willowy foliage turns a solid, glowing gold, rivaling anything a tree does that same month. Amsonia builds a woody, deep-reaching root system slowly, over several years, and that root establishment happens almost entirely underground in warm soil, with very little happening above ground to show for it. Which is exactly why spring planting frustrates people. They see no visible growth and assume it failed. Plant it in August instead, let it work underground through fall, and you skip a full season of that anxious waiting. Blue Ice stays compact and tidy for smaller borders. Storm Cloud brings near black stems that contrast against the blue flowers. Zones 3 through 9, full sun to part shade, and it tolerates both average garden soil and surprisingly wet clay, which is unusual for this list. Space plants 2 to 3 feet apart since a mature clump gets genuinely wide, and don't expect a show the first year. This is a patience plant. By year 3, it's a fountain of foliage nothing bothers, since deer and rabbits leave it strictly alone. Number 9, Turtle Head. Named, accurately, for flowers that look uncannily like a small open-mouthed turtle head, in pink or white, blooming late in the season when most of the garden has already quit. This is a native wetland plant, and it's the answer to that one damp, half-shaded corner of the yard that rots everything else you've tried there. Turtlehead's roots actually prefer soil that stays consistently moist through fall, which August delivers naturally in most climates before winter dryness sets in, timing that lines up almost perfectly with what the plant needs to establish. Hot Lips gives you rich pink flowers on dark stems. Alba is the white form, slightly more shade tolerant. Zones 3 through 8, partial shade, and consistently moist to wet soil. This is one of the rare perennials on this list where you genuinely cannot overwater it. Pinch the stem tips back once in early summer if the plant looks leggy in its pot, which forces bushier growth and more flowering nodes later. It blooms into October, right as bumblebees are searching harder for anything still open, and it's often the last real nectar source standing in a shade garden. Number 10, Goldenrod. And I need to clear up the biggest myth on this entire list before we go further. Goldenrod gets blamed for hay fever every single autumn, and it is almost never the culprit. Its pollen is heavy and sticky, built to travel on insects, not wind. The actual offender blooming at the same time is ragweed, a completely different, far less interesting plant. Once that's out of the way, goldenrod is one of the single best late-season pollinator plants you can own, and it establishes fast and warm August soil because its rhizomes are built to colonize ground quickly before winter shuts things down. Fireworks arches into explosive sprays of gold, living up to the name. Golden Fleece stays low and tidy, well-behaved enough for a small border. Zones 3 through 9, full sun, and it thrives in soil too poor for almost anything else here. Give it room, since named cultivars still spread by rhizome, and skip the fertilizer completely. Rich soil just makes it floppy and aggressive. In return, you get a plant absolutely blanketed in native bees and migrating monarchs in September, right when most other nectar sources have already shut down for the year. Number 11, Linton Rose, or hellebore. Nodding, cup-shaped flowers in deep plum, soft pink, or greenish white, opening in late winter or very early spring, sometimes pushing straight up through a layer of snow, which is genuinely one of the more startling things you'll see in a garden. Hellebores are notoriously slow to establish from a spring planting, often sulking through an entire summer of heat before doing anything at all. Planted in August instead, the root system gets a full season of cooling, moderate temperatures to settle in without the stress of summer heat working against it, which is exactly the opposite problem every other shade plant on this list has to deal with. Ivory Prince holds pale green-white flowers with a rosy blush. Onyx Odyssey goes nearly black. Zones 4 through 9, partial to full shade, and rich, well-drained soil that doesn't sit wet in winter. Set the crown at soil level, water it in, and be patient. The first year sleep, second year creep, third year leap pattern applies here more than almost anywhere else on this list. The evergreen foliage holds through winter, and it's essentially untouched by deer, which alone makes it worth the wait. Number 12, Bee Balm, or Monarda. Shaggy, almost fireworks-shaped flowers in red, pink, or purple, sitting above minty, fragrant foliage that deer reliably avoid because of the smell alone. Bee Balm spreads by shallow rhizome, and like goldenrod, that rhizome network expands fastest while soil is warm, which makes an August planting noticeably more filled in by the following June than a spring one. The one real challenge with this plant is powdery mildew, and warm soil. Well-spaced fall planting actually reduces that risk, since the roots are established and less stressed heading into the following summer's humidity. Jacob Klein resists mildew better than almost any other red variety and gets genuinely tall. Purple Rooster stays a bit more compact. Zones 4 through 9, full sun to part shade, and consistently moist, fertile soil. Space plants a full 18 to 24 inches apart with good airflow between them. Crowding is the single biggest cause of mildew on this plant, more than the weather ever is. Hummingbirds find a newbie bomb patch astonishingly fast, sometimes within days of the first flowers opening. Number 13, columbine, spurred, bell-shaped flowers in combinations of red, yellow, purple, and white, hovering on wiry stems above blue-green foliage that looks almost like a small clover from a distance. Columbine is short-lived as an individual plant, usually 3 to 4 years, but it self-seeds so reliably that an established patch effectively becomes permanent, constantly refreshing itself. Getting the first generation into the ground in August, while soil is warm enough for fast germination like root establishment, means that first patch is strong enough to start setting seed the very next spring instead of losing a year to a slow spring start. Origami comes in a mix of vivid two-tone colors. Black barlow goes nearly black with a striking spurred shape. Zones 3 through 8, full sun to part shade, and average, well-drained soil. It isn't fussy. Let some seed heads mature and drop each year rather than deadheading everything, since that's what keeps the patch renewing itself for free. Hummingbirds are drawn to the long spurred flowers specifically, since the nectar sits deep inside them, out of reach for most other pollinators. Number 14, lamb's ear, thick, velvety silver-gray leaves that genuinely feel like a lamb's ear, which is the entire reason it belongs in any garden a child will walk through. The flowers, small purple spikes, are almost beside the point. This plant spreads by low, ground-hugging rosettes, and August planting lets those rosettes root into the surrounding soil before winter rather than sitting loosely on top of it, which is what tends to happen with a late spring planting rushed in during the first hot week of summer. Helen von Stein has larger leaves and rarely flowers, which some gardeners actually prefer since the flower spikes can look a bit untidy. Big Ears is a similar large leaf selection. Zones 4 through 9, full sun, and this is the critical part, soil that drains sharply. Wet winter soil rots the crown faster than almost anything else on this list. Space plants about 18 inches apart and resist the urge to enrich the bed. Poor, gritty soil is what keeps the foliage tight and the plant from rotting out in a wet spring. It makes an excellent, low-maintenance edging plant, and it's one of the few perennials here that's genuinely fun to just reach out and touch. Number 15, toad lily, small, intricately spotted, orchid-like flowers in purple and white that open in the shade garden in September and October, right when almost everything else there has already finished for the year. Toad lilies grow from a slowly spreading rhizome, and that rhizome needs warm soil to make any real progress, which is exactly what makes this such a natural August planting choice. It's essentially catching the very tail end of its ideal growing window before the plant settles into winter dormancy. Miyazaki is the classic arching form with heavily spotted flowers. Empress is a variegated selection that adds interest even before it blooms. Zones 4 through 9, partial to full shade, and rich, consistently moist soil, similar to what you'd give a hosta or a stilby. Keep it out of direct afternoon sun, which scorches the foliage quickly, and be patient the first year. Like hellebore, this one takes its time to look like much of anything. Once established, though, it's one of the few genuinely late-season flowers a shade garden can offer, and it's a small, quiet reward for anyone who bothers to look closely in October. 3 things apply to everything on this list, no matter which plant you choose. Dig the hole wider than the root ball, never deeper, so the crown sits level with the surrounding soil. Skip the heavy fertilizer at planting time. A strong root system this fall matters far more than a burst of top growth you won't even see until spring. And water deeply but infrequently right through autumn, because it's dry soil, not cold, that kills most new perennials over their first winter. Here's the real shift, though. When you plant in August, you're not planting something you get to admire this week. You're planting a root system, underground, where nothing shows and nothing looks like progress for months. The garden that looks effortless next June isn't the one someone worked hardest on in spring. It's the one someone quietly set up correctly the August before, when there was nothing to see and no one was watching. If that's the kind of gardener you want to be, hit subscribe, because we've got a full season of this ahead of us.